Yeah, here we go. Shelter FootyCast live on a public holiday, Skeeter. Good to see you still at work, mate. How are you? What's going on?
Hello, Scully. Grand final week. We've been talking footy for the best part of 6 months.
You sick of me?
I'm not sick of footy, but I'm just...
No, I said me.
Oh, no, I've got a lot of time for you, Scully. And,
Okay, Skeeter.
and thankfully I get to work with you. Otherwise, it would be even a tougher gig. But no, we're looking forward to grand final week, the Brownlow tonight, and two really interesting prelim finals to talk about. But yeah, it's great with the spring in the air and big game in Melbourne coming up.
I agree, Skeeter. It was a good prelim finals weekend. Watched both games in detail. Loved it. We both called the Waffle Grand Final yesterday, which was a bit of fun too. You can follow us over at socials, Shelter FootyCast. You're going to have to take note of that because we've got a big giveaway today. Well, potential giveaway. There's definitely a competition for the grand final. Big event down at the Leederville precinct. We're going to get into that in a little bit. You can contact us, footycast at shelterbrewing.com.au. We'll go through our Thirsty Camel clanger of the week, Skeeter. Let's get into this competition. So, Skeeter, I got something for you this week.
So just recapping, Dice, I'm told, absolutely tore it up on Friday
Were
night.
you not there?
No, well, no, I wasn't there. I was calling the footy just for what it's
That's
worth.
right.
Yeah.
I was with you. That's right. Dice, very good, but that is done and dusted. So moving on, grand final week. If you still haven't figured out what you're doing for the grand final, got something for you here on the Shelter FootyCast. The Leederville precinct, so the Leederville Hotel, Servo, Yard Bar, the Garden, combining with Miss Chow's and Salisbury's Barbers, the North Perth legends cutting hairs down there. They're doing a big event for the big dance, Skeeter. So, look, I'm going to name a few things that I think could be right up your alley. The grand final being on the big screens. Happy with that?
It's massive, yeah, but I don't like the big dance is just American crap, so I don't keep calling it the big dance. But yeah, he's got everything covered, including, by the sounds of it,
The grand final's on. Beers.
Beers and lots of them.
Right. Do I need to go any further for you?
Just don't get caught up in the... And I used to do it as a teenager. Don't do it anymore. You know when you go to... Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to get a name... And for every possession, that player gets your skull.
Yes.
So I think I had Paul Couch in a grand final once. So I was just about on my ear 10 minutes into the first quarter.
All right, so if I can guarantee Mark Reddings will be down at the Leederville precinct, down at Leederville Hotel, and he'll have Nick Dacos every time he gets a touch. Skeeter does a slug. That'll be bloody good. You can get down there, Skeeter. There's a VIP area.
Well, that's probably more my my methodology. Just go straight into the little red carpet spot.
So we got downstairs at the Leederville Hotel and Servo Yard Bar, got beers, got big screen, got food coming down there, got the VIP terrace, the Salisbury's VIP terrace. This is chilling on the rooftop terrace. Catch the game in the Garden Sky Screen. 4 hours of bottomless bevs up there, Skeeter.
Bottomless bevs. Okay, so a bevy of beauties. Is that what we're looking at?
That is absolutely right. You can take maybe your better half down there, Skeet.
I think not.
There's a nice yum cha banquet in Servo restaurant that you could take her there and pretend that you've taken her out for a day at the actual grand final.
After I've had my 15 beers, yeah, that'll go down well.
Skeet, it's going to be a good one down there, down in Leederville. So if you don't know what you're doing for the grand final, I'll be getting down there. We've got 4 tickets to any package, so you could actually get 4 VIP tickets. All you need to do, we'll be giving these away on Thursday before the big game on Saturday. All you need to do is follow Shelter FootyCast and tag the 3 mates that you're taking with you.
Yep. I might have trouble getting 3, but if I had 1 or 2, I reckon I'd be a chance.
Very good, Skater. Make sure you get involved there. We'll be keeping track of that. Let's get into the big moments of the round. Skate, Nick Dacos. I can't believe he's not being looked at for suspension. That's mine off the top. I can't believe they're not looking at that.
Really?
Mate, James Sicily got 3 weeks for exactly the same incident this year.
Mate, Braden Maynard almost killed a bloke in a qualifying final, and he's sort of saying, "Hello, I'm fine." So no, I didn't expect him to go just because of this time of the year. I know it sounds like double standards, sounds like hypocrisy. But no way did I think that he'd go.
The hypocrisy is unbelievable.
Yeah,
unbelievable. Like, it is just a joke. I probably should have started with the fact that Collingwood and Brisbane are into a grand final. That is the big news. But some issues out of those games. Look, I couldn't believe it. Brent Daniels, who's one of GWS's sort of hard-running, late-running guys, sounded like some strange circumstances there.
Yeah, well, there's a subplot to that, obviously, with him. Now, I was listening on radio on Saturday morning to Melbourne radio and being talked through the AFL with the concussion test. They now, and I'm not sure how long they've been doing this, they now contact the doctor of the Giants, for instance, and say, so we've seen this. Would you like to look at it further?
When's this coming?
Well, this may have been maybe that the AFL has staffed this area more regularly since the Port Adelaide. I don't know.
What were they looking at during the Patrick Cripps and Jacob Wiedering semi-final? What were they looking at there?
Yeah, well, apparently that wasn't. I don't know whether that was referred to the club doctor. The bottom line is, Adam Kingsley wasn't happy. I know we're going away a bit from the Dacos incident per se, but the aftermath, Daniels, because of his doctor, the club doctor, decided to do the test. He's out of the game with what 5, 6, 7 minutes to go,
and he passes.
You can blame the AFL on that, but in the end, it was the club doctor that said, "No, we think we should test you." That was a pretty critical decision given his impact and the possibility of what he could have done in those last few moments.
Well, look, I just think it's hypocrisy at its best. But anyway, it is a good result. I think the two best teams make the grand final.
I think so. And look, the Giants, I know you were big on them, and I would have liked to have seen them got through. They just weren't given the time and space that, and we'll discuss it further, but they weren't given the space that they have maybe in other finals. But it was a good game of footy. In the last 8 minutes, it was just like a rugby maul.
I am in big trouble this weekend, and we'll get to these games. But as you've heard here on the Shuttle FootyCast, I haven't rated Brisbane away from the game since about round 4. So they're in the grand final.
Yeah, and they're a big chance to win it.
And another thing I've been saying is Collingwood can't win the grand final with the way they play. So
yeah, either way, you've cooked yourself.
Which is usually what you do, but I don't know how I'm here.
Well, you had Geelong winning back-to-back, the Eagles making the finals, flag man. But
Nostradamus.
The one I struggled with, look, Collingwood, you've questioned them for a fair while. I just don't know on what basis. And that's not to say their morals on Saturday, but you're saying their finals type. What they played on Saturday or Friday night was finals footy with the contested ball, and
I think GWS kicked themselves out of it, as did Melbourne in the qualifying final. So that's probably the basis. But they still find a way to win.
Yeah, exactly.
You can never actually knock that for the history of the game going forward, because they have
mindset.
done it for 2 years. Find a way to win. So in the end, that trumps anything I've got to say about it. Grand final tickets. There's a bit of
hullabaloo.
Collingwood fans not happy with this. There's Ticketmaster and Ticketek, and I don't really know the difference, but there's people being allocated tickets, people in Premium 1, Level 1, Gold, Platinum, the sort of areas that Mark Reddings operates in. They aren't getting their tickets down to Level 1. They're up in the Level 4, up in the bleachers where I usually seat skaters down the corporate boxes. You got your finger on the pulse here at all?
No, I've got no idea what's happening, except there's a lot of angst from people that can't get a ticket, and they've been members and they're supposed to get some sort of priority. Look, the problem with grand final day, on a serious note, is that it's not prelim finals. Fans get a really good look at tickets.
Yes.
Grand final day, so many corporates. I mean, you're probably going to get out of 100,000, in all honesty, maybe 40,000 neutrals.
Yeah, that'd be about right. All I know about grand final week and grand final tickets I was going to, you're trying to use a fancy word there, but it is just a shit show of people.
We didn't use a fancy word.
Yeah. People texting, have you got this? Have you got this? Do you know tickets? Like, who's doing this? Are we sitting together? From my point of view, like I would have had 20 texts already about, can I get tickets?
Well, hang on.
Do you think I am?
What, this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I'll get the same question.
Footy.
Yeah, my daughter says last week before the Carlton game, Olivia, she goes, "Oh, Dad, now my boyfriend Sam Bat works for Carlton. You're a chance to get me a ticket, aren't you?" I was like, if Carlton get through against Collingwood, and I'm calling the game on Friday night, and Collingwood win on Saturday, I was doing how the live ladder.
Yeah.
I said I've got the live ticket prices when Carlton's 5-0. Suddenly they're $3,500 for a general admission.
That's correct.
They fell away badly, but yeah, tickets. It's really difficult. And look, if you could sell 200,000, they probably would. But Collingwood. Lions have got that supporter base still with Fitzroy, the link there with Brisbane. So, yeah, but good luck getting tickets. Scalpers are going to be doing some business.
What's anything else? Adam Uze, new coach of Richmond.
Yeah, big result for him, and he came close to the Giants' job. He's been in the mix, of course.
Essendon as well.
At Essendon and Melbourne, he's been a really good coach in that sphere where he's helped their defence, of course. And, of course, you got May and Lever, but he must have presented really well because Andrew McQualter was loved by the players. I just wonder, they say that they don't take results into play, but after a really good start, McQualter as a caretaker, they, I think, lose their last 4, or certainly they fall away in the back end of the season. whether that harmed his chances. But either way, Adam Uzo, I think it's a good decision, by the way. Fresh set of eyes, comes in, and I think the Tigers, I don't see them contending next year, but I think he deserves his chances. And we've seen so many like Craig McRae, like Adam Kingsley, getting an opportunity, and look where they are.
Andrew McWalter straight out the door, basically, and which is probably fair enough. I put a little watch this space. I think if West Coast can put a package together that makes he and his family comfortable moving over here, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Andrew McWalter at West Coast assistant coach. I know they're hunting for a bigger name. I know they're hunting for some quality, and clearly he's proven his worth over a long time at Richmond now. Very close to landing a head coaching job. He wants a new start, a new club. I reckon he could be right up on top of the list for Adam Simpson and the West Coast Eagles.
So, in brief, from a coaching perspective, can you tell me how many coaches? Is it just one coach you're looking forward to?
Well, I know Adam Uzo was on the list, but they couldn't get it done. I mentioned this a few weeks ago. Adam Simpson didn't have a job, so he couldn't approach anyone for an assistant coaching role with him because it was to nothing. You can't go to Adam Uzo and say, "Hey, mate, come and coach with me next year."
I'm not sure if I'm going to be there. Yeah.
So it's now to the point where almost all assistant coaches are locked up around the league because no one's sitting around waiting for Adam Simpson to be given a job. Everyone's worrying about themselves first.
Fair enough.
So I would say Andrew McWalter is at the top of available assistant coaches, and I know West Coast have a bit of a kitty they're trying to roll out. So I haven't actually heard anything from insiders, just putting a few dots together for you, Skate.
No, I like it. Well done.
Will Schofield, Mark Reading, Show FootyCast. Let's get through these prelim finals, Skeeter. This first one was an absolute cracker. I wish I could just keep pressing the GWS theme song all day, but I was genuinely flat at the end of this, so I will preface this by saying that Collingwood defeat GWS by 1 point in a prelim, flipping the tables from last year against Sydney, losing by a point Collingwood did. The emotion that would be involved from that footy club right now would be absolutely palpable.
Absolutely, and I think you get a sense of, we saw Collingwood in the celebrations, and congratulations to them and their performance. It was a really good finals victory, but also the emotion that came out of Toby Green in the rooms afterwards, and he was emotional when he was speaking on TV, and then when he was surrounded, I think, by his partner and his mum, I think it was. Yeah, it meant so much to that footy club and to him, and he had a terrific season. He's a captain that I think has just assumed the role and done a super job, but at the end of the day, they couldn't get a score in the last 7 or 8 minutes, which is credit to Collingwood, and unfortunately the Giants will look back with a few regrets as well.
Yeah, well, that's right. In prelim finals, that emotion you saw from Toby Green, I saw a few other senior players at GWS. The thing about prelim finals is there's no guarantee next year you get back there.
No.
Look, a successful club will, and they'll create a culture where they continually challenge for finals, but there's not many around that do that. Geelong's been one of them across the journey. Richmond for a period there, but either side of their sort of dynasty of three, they've fallen away both sides. To be able to do it consistently and have multiple cracks at a prelim final, it just doesn't happen.
No, and look,
that's why the emotion's there.
And also, we can probably between us go through and list grand finalists and obviously premiers in the last decade or two, but try and remember a losing prelim finalist.
Yeah.
They slip from your memory pretty quickly. But
not the people who play.
No, I'm saying externally you become forgotten really quickly, and you may as well have finished, albeit a really successful season for both the Giants and Carlton, but you may as well have finished, in essence, outside the 8, although it's certainly not a failure by any means.
It was an extraordinary game in terms of momentum. Collingwood had a 62-minute goalless streak in this game. They started well. GWS got ascendancy in that second quarter. They kicked 4 in a row to lead by 17 points at the start of the third quarter. Collingwood had a 1-point lead at the back end of this for 7 minutes almost. So, there was some real stars that stood up from both sides. We look at Collingwood. Jordan Ngoe was outstanding.
Best game, I think, for him.
34 disposals. He was untackleable.
If that's a word.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but put it this way. We've sat back and watched in awe of Dustin Martin in finals over a few years. I think it's fair to say that was as close to a Dustin Martin type performance by De Goey with his ability to break tackles, set up. They're slightly different players, but they're also similar players in the impact they have. I just thought it was an outstanding performance from a bloke. Bear in mind, not that long ago, there were question marks as to will Collingwood keep him? Will St Kilda be able to get his signature? And it was really just off the back of what I thought was a little bit of an overblown situation with him in Bali. But that's in the past. He's found his niche, he's found his groove, and Jordan De Goey was, for mine, clearly best on.
Nick Dacos worked his way into the contest pretty well. Be interesting to see how he pulls up after 8 weeks away from the game. A big game. I had to play him throughout. I mean, a point up, you have to play your best players. So he ended up with 28 disposals. And was a lot better in the second half than he was the first. Tom Mitchell probably in the same basket. He was very quiet in that first half, but he finished with 24 touches and 10 tackles. So an important member, especially if Taylor Adams is still under doubt with that hammy, which I think he will be. I don't think he plays. Just my opinion, absolutely not based on anything medical, other than I've seen a lot of hammies and not many get up within 14 to 17 days. You need 21 days on most hammies.
Yeah, well, he's a question mark. Dan McStay is out, gone, and the question now is with his knee, and you got to feel sorry for him. I thought he handled it with a lot of grace and dignity. Is it a case of now Billy Frampton comes into that side to give them a tall option? You think of their forward line set up. I know Cox can go forward, but Meyer, Check, outside of that, who's their
Ash
tall
Johnson's
options?
sort of...
No, I don't think he's going to be right.
Right.
I don't think he's in the mix, to be honest.
So has he been injured, has he? Because I was thinking he's just fallen off the face because he was going very well at one stage.
I think Billy Frampton, if they're going tall or need a tall option, otherwise,
Does John Noble come in and they play Jack Ginnivan a full game?
Possibly. That's a very... you think of their forwards, Bobby Hill, Ginnivan, Elliott. I mean, that is... you're really trusting the smalls, and albeit it's going to be a day where you think, really hot, Harris Andrews and co. It's a really tough decision for Craig McRae to make, but I'm sure he'll be pondering that well before we have.
As GWS's season has finished, I think we should touch on a few of their better players. Josh Kelly, I thought, was their best. He was really good, 34 disposals, but just ran hard all day and was their best midfielder. Tom Green, very close to it as well. He was outstanding, especially in that first half when the ball was there to be won. He'll go close to winning a Brownlow at some point. He's so young still.
Yeah, that's when Carl England said it to me a while ago, and I'm fair to say I reckon he's made a good call there. Now, we're going to go with... I'm surprised you didn't mention your man early on, but Jack Buckley.
I was getting to him.
I know you're getting to him. Sam Taylor, I think, was one game away from qualifying and being given All-Australian selection, but given what we've seen from Jack Buckley, I think he deserves to be spoken. At the moment, just on what we've seen in the finals, on a par easily with what Sam Taylor's doing.
He was outstanding. Surprised me a bit with some of his agility, but his defensive actions and his cleanliness, and he would have saved 6 goals, I reckon, off his own hand. Sam Taylor, look, I don't like to be critical of Backman, but he wouldn't be happy with that game. And I know he's got high standards, and he's a West Aussie. Is that right? He's a West Aussie. It wasn't his best game, unfortunately. No. He just looked... He got under the footy a lot.
McStay got him early.
He played off a back shoulder, but then when he was in front, he was getting pushed under the ball and ran and jumped at numerous balls, and he just didn't have his timing right. And sometimes that happens, and you can't do anything about it. But Jack Buckley was there to save the day. He was absolutely outstanding. And Toby Green, I thought, was very good again. Kicked 2 goals. He did everything possible to get his team over the line. That banana that he kicked
and the death.
Yeah, 2 minutes to go. It'll just live with him because I'm sure he's kicked that goal 1,000 times.
And it was a really well executed kick, but he didn't get the elevation that he would have liked.
He skinnied it, so it would have been spinning fast, but it was just going nowhere. So usually when you kick those, and again, no expert, but...
Someone told me Lloyd was loitering at the top of the square. It's easy to say that.
Honestly, you're backing in Toby Green to kick that. That's what he does for a living, and he'd kick 9 out of 10 of them, I reckon, or at least score. Because remember, it's still side bottom marks on the goal line. Look, we not to forget the Thirsty Camel clanger of the week. Don't run out of your favourites. Grab your shelters at Thirsty Camel. Sometimes I don't like it, but most of the time I do. I thought the umpiring was really poor in this game. They holistically had a bit of a clanger. I like the whistles going away for finals. I do like that.
Why should it change in finals?
I don't know, but
I agree with you.
Put it this way, I like them going away full stop. I don't think umpires should impact the game. But they missed some absolute howlers in this game. So, and it's been publicly noted and documented the frees they missed.
When you go through some of the big names that have, and you hardly ever see Lee Matthews critical, Luke Hodge, Strong called them pathetic on the weekend. Dermot Brereton, I know we're talking the three Hawthorn
Will
legends.
Schofield's just done it.
Coincidental, but yeah.
Will Schofield's just called him out.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but
Matthews, Hodge, Brereton, Schofield.
Oh, that's just like the Beatles.
Yeah, thank you. Who was the shit one of the Beatles?
Well, he got turfed after a short time. The drama.
Perfect, that'd be me. Clearly I agree because I brought it up. But Collingwood, the best side, get it done. GWS will be heartbroken. But is there any other further?
Yeah, I just want to touch on the fact the last 7 or 8 minutes, and Craig McRae did touch on this post-game about what they do at training. Now, you may well have done this, so too may have other teams as just a regulation, but 2 minutes at training each session, or maybe one session a week they do this, but it's that intensity around the ball stoppage, just being able to get to the contest, and they've trained for that moment or those minutes.
Yeah.
That's what they did, and I tell you, they did it as effectively as I think you could have. The Giants, could they have changed their methodology? Possibly, but Magpies had trained for that situation, and they would look prepared.
Well, what flipped in this game was the intercepting across the back line. So first half was GWS, and that's what really had them in the game and on top. And then GWS, for whatever reason, lost structure, and they were kicking into 3-on-1s. Darcy Cameron was back there taking marks. They had Quainer rolling around taking marks. Yes, to answer your question, we did used to practice that at West Coast. It was a 2-minute drill basically, and one team would be up by 3 points and one would be down, and you'd go until someone would score basically. And things that you would practice that I saw from Collingwood, clearing it wide. So from a clearance,
instead of forward,
instead of forward, go laterally. Remember that very last clearance? Yep. Whoever had it just kicked it straight to the boundary. It takes 10 seconds off the clock, and if there's a turnover out there, everyone knows where it is. You get it, you kick it forward, intercept mark. It's just coming straight back over your head. So there's little things like that you wouldn't even think about, I suppose, that is drilled into good teams. Clear it wide, make sure our structure's set up, so making sure the half forwards are coming out, wingers are rolling back behind the ball. And then around the contest is really where it's won. So to be able to hold up 1 point up from 6 minutes, that's to do with their midfielders and the ability to hold the ball in and win contests, and then to go and man up their players and number off once the ball comes out. So well-coached team, clearly. That's how they find a way to win. They're organised.
They are. Scott Pendlebury was doing some of that heavy lifting in the late part of that game as well.
25 touches, Scott Pendlebury. He needs to just settle down and just age like the rest of us, seriously.
Benjamin Button.
What's happening? That's it, Skeeter. Collingwood into a GF. Brisbane defeat Carlton by 16. It felt like a more blown-out game than this because of how this game went. Carlton could not have started any better. They were absolutely sizzling. 5 goals to nothing. Felt a little bit like the 2018 grand final for mine.
Well, we called that on the day. Jacko and I said, gee, it feels like 18, and then Brisbane get a late goal. Obviously, West Coast kicked a couple late in the quarter 5 years ago. But, yeah, there was a lot of similarities, certainly in that first quarter, about how that prelim final played out.
Well, if Carlton were going to win at the Gabba, severe underdogs, this was how they were going to do it, and they couldn't have executed it any better. Brisbane looked shell-shocked. Carlton were there, and they started well. It's just everything that you're taught as a kid and as a player to start well in finals. That's what they did. They were just absolutely firing, and nothing they did looked like it wouldn't work, basically. There was some pretty key matchups, I thought, on the day. Josh Dunkley played pretty much head-to-head with Paddy Cripps, kept him to 13 disposals.
Yeah, Cripps, love to know what's the ailment or what's wrong with him post-season.
They said he's injured, have they?
Well, the general consensus seems to be that he's a bit sore. Now, whether that's just from the knocks of a final series, but yeah, right. Dunkley, I think, just in brief, and we'll talk about this later in the week, but Dunkley's job on Cripps means that surely that he put some time into De Goey on the weekend.
Yeah, it'd have to be De Goey, not Dacos. You need someone.
But De Goey's the guy that I think Dunkley goes to. But you're right. Cripps shut down, Dunkley terrific. I love the work of Harris Andrews in the first quarter. I reckon, I think without him, it could have been 7 or 8 goals to Carlton.
Yeah.
He was just enormous.
He took a massive contested mark against 3 players, like one-handed contested mark. He had another one where he came charging out and intercepted it from an on-rushing Carlton player. I agree with you. I reckon they could have been 8 goals down. If you're 8 goals down, you lose the game.
Yeah.
You're not coming back from that. So that's what captains do, though. That's why he's the captain of that side. He's the guy that goes, right, it's not working out for us, boys, get on my back. And I thought he was outstanding. Their best player, probably. And I think he didn't have many touches in the end. But
no, I think it was a dozen.
He just impacted the game in ways that you can't measure.
So
really.
did, and talking about their back half, I mean, Kitty Coleman was just look, I know he was given a bit of space by Carlton, but the way he used the ball by his left foot and hitting the corridor, I think he set up the first goal with an inboard kick, and he was really good. Can he stand the heat of a finals match where I don't think, say, someone like McCreary would play a role on him just to make sure he doesn't get that opportunity to set up play for Brisbane? Oscar McInerney, I thought, was fantastic as well. He was one of the more dominant players in the game as well. So
two goals, 40 yards.
Yeah, massive for him. And you probably think that if he can do similar or certainly play his role on Saturday, it gives Brisbane. And the more you look at this grand final, without dismissing what happened with that Carlton game, is their scoring power of Brisbane is going to be so important to them against a Collingwood side that want to kick 60 and 58 in 2 finals. If
this was, like, we'll talk about this in the preview, but if this game was at the Gabba, they'd be
$1.30 or something.
Yeah, they'd be severe favourites. Brisbane, there's a couple of stats I wouldn't mind throwing at your skate. Brisbane 70 to 49 in 1%ers, so that spoils, smothers, blocks, Shepherds. I think that's a big indicator in playing your role and the pressure that they were putting on Carlton that ultimately led to them coming back and being able to win this game. Brisbane beat Carlton in stoppages, 44 to 31 in clearances. So that was another way in which Carlton could get into this game, is getting on top in the midfield, which they did not do. Harry Mackay, I thought he was good.
Yeah, no, he was.
The discussion about him, not being in their best side before the game, I mean, that's a joke.
No, well, it has been a concern with his kicking for goal. Even from 25 metres out on the weekend, he went around his body. But look, put it this way: if you look back in the final series now, Harry Mackay, I think, gets a pass mark for what he did at the Gabba. Unfortunately, the Coleman medalist for his finals form. Now, whether that's just a symptom of the work that the defenders put into him, but Charlie Curnow, unfortunately, he's a very good player. Some say the best in the competition, but you can't be putting that tag on him at the moment.
I know that Josh Kennedy carried for him over a number of years the 2015 grand final performance. I think he was held goalless in that game against Hawthorn, Coleman medalist that year in 2015.
Yep.
And that was a combination of things. One, you're playing against very good defenders who just spend
their life.
Yeah, like their life depends on them stopping you, right? So, as much as I bullshit on about the backman, in the end, playing as a forward's a lot harder because you only have, as a backman, you just have your opponent to worry about. The forward's trying to impact the game by marking goals, and you got some dickhead following you around trying to stop you the entire game. So, I know Josh Kennedy, he really carried a poor finals performance as a motivator, and can we get three goals in that 2018 Premiership? 4?
I don't think 4, but he certainly hit the scoreboard.
And he
important
impacted
times
because it really cut him deep that he wasn't able to stand up when his teammates needed him. And Charlie Curnow, say what you like, he is a great player. He has been the best forward this year, but he did not stand up, and that's fine. That's what finals footy is about. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, but he will carry that, no doubt. No, he's a competitive beast, and he will use that to drive him, hopefully. I don't think Carlton would have won the grand final regardless, so it might be a good thing. It might drive him on to greatness.
Yeah, I think Carlton they should be really satisfied with where they've come from. I mean, you look at their form mid-season, and they've just taken some real growth from what they've done. Michael Voss, and the whole depth of their group. I think their role players have come along. They were a bit sore. They were a bit banged up. No surprise they didn't get across the line against Brisbane. But I don't think there's too many concerns. Obviously, they'll try and build from that list that they have got, and yeah, they end up as a top 4 finishing side for the campaign, which, I mean, after 15 rounds, you wouldn't have given them much chance of causing too much damage.
Darcy Gardner was pretty good, but if you talk about on the Collingwood side of things about grand final selection issues, Brisbane's, that's probably theirs. Payne, who's been in their side all year and been really good. Darcy Gardner, I think, has played 2 or 3 games this year, played really well, but if Payne ends up getting up, that's a player that plays in a prelim and doesn't get to play in a grand final, so that'll be disappointing on his regard. I don't think there's any other injury issues. Lachie Neale, of course, with his shoulder,
a bit of a stinger maybe.
Sounds like he's had some issues with that in the past with his post-game interview. You've got him as Brownlow favourite, or
no?
I've got
him polling pretty well in that, certainly in the top 5, which I think, I didn't have him as his best season by any means, but some blokes just poll, and he does.
It's a good point. Anything you want to finish off with that game, Skeeter?
No, Brisbane, look, I think it's set up pretty well for them, really. I mean, they haven't travelled in September. They go to the MCG. We know their record, they're not great, but they have beaten Melbourne at the venue. They've won their past a handful of games against Collingwood, albeit none at the MCG. 27, 28 degrees, the forecast. Oh, that's a plus as well.
Yep.
I don't think they're going to get too many better looks at it, albeit against a Collingwood side that has been just superb in big games. And that, can they handle the pressure? Can Brisbane, the likes of Joe Danaher, Eric Hipwood, Charlie Cameron, can they
stand up?
If they stand up, I think they win.
Yeah, I think Brisbane win too. The only thing is the home ground MCG stuff. One thing that we haven't seen, Brisbane in a grand final at the MCG. We've seen them play regular seasons. We've seen them play finals at the MCG. Have we seen them play finals at the MCG?
Yeah, they beat Melbourne last year.
Sorry, yep. I think a grand final takes a lot of the home ground stuff away. Like I know it's an issue, having played in a couple of them. There's certainly a significant advantage to Victorian sides being there, but it's the grand final. You're so locked in on your performance, and it being the last day. The crowd fades a little bit.
It's not going to be a Collingwood like it was pro-Collingwood in the prelim final because of the tickets that they were able to get.
It will be pro-Collingwood, Skeeter.
You think so?
Like, 2018, I remember running out and the whole far southern stand was just black and white. Collingwood fans will find a way to get there more than Brisbane fans will. So yeah. I think it'll be a Collingwood-dominated thing. And it's not the parochial die-hard fans, but some will get in there. Don't worry.
Yeah,
they'll find a way.
I just don't think it'll be as intimidating as what... I mean, the day will be intimidating for maybe some of these Lions players, but I don't think the Collingwood factor is going to be as enormous as what we saw in the prelim final because, again, it's going to be... They can't get access to the tickets they would normally, and I think there's a lot of... And any neutral, I imagine, any neutral... is barracking for Brisbane.
It's a good point because it sounds like I'm leaning that way at the moment. Will Schofield, Mark Redding's Shoulder FootyCast. Skeeter, let's have a look at the Brownlow medal, which is on tonight. I want to start this, Skeet, with BackChat. We are running our very own Brownlow medal watch-along down at the Paddington Ale House in Mount Hawthorn.
Wow.
It's not sold out, but we've sold a shitload of tickets. And I don't mean to say that in sort of talking ourselves up. It's gone off its rocker. There's going to be a lot of people down there. Tuxedos, please. I'd like to see your worst suits. We'll be in them. I can guarantee you that. So don't think no one's wearing them. I will be in I believe, maroon velvet tuxedo at this stage. If you're a lady or a lass, love to see you in your worst dresses. Come down. We've got the red carpet. So red carpet specials. We've got giveaways. We've got shelters on tap down there. We've got a Brownlow medal sweep. We've got special drinking games to play along with, Skeeter. I'll throw one out there. Jack Buckley gets a vote. We're shouting the entire bar. It could be a very, very good night. So there's a lot of people coming down. You want to come down, jump on BackChat Instagram. You can find the ticket links over there. You've got to get a ticket. There's $0, Skeeter. We're looking after the people.
You're doing very well. So you've got a big week. So you're going to be, are you on the gas tonight? Is that fair to say? You can't help yourself.
Unfortunately, but seriously, I don't need it.
I thought you were going on some, weren't you going on some weight loss thing recently?
Yeah, well, that hasn't gone too well, Skeeter. Well, how's yours going?
I didn't go to weight loss, although my wife tells me I'm fat every day. So I just look in the mirror and realise that. And you know what I had yesterday at the footy? I had half a packet of barbecue shapes, which I reckon
just half pack.
Yeah, and when I go into state, It just goes to pear. It goes pear-shaped for me with food. What
Are
about
you going to the grand final?
Yeah.
Oh, I just want. We didn't want to. You
I
go.
go Thursday, yeah.
Pack a couple of extra packets of.
Thanks to Travel and Sport Australia, of course. Paul Ramsey,
very
the
good.
team, just and Channel 7, thank you.
Well done. And the Shelter FootyCast.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Nothing for you. Now, let's get into Brownlow. Let's have a little bit of a look at some of the favourites, perhaps, and maybe some club favourites as well.
Oh, yeah.
Lachie Neale is emerging as a bit of a roughy favourite for this one. AFL is sort of saying that he's going to poll
Predictor.
a lot of votes. He's at $13 with this one.
Is he $13? Yeah, well, they've got him down, I think, winning 32, 33 votes.
That's right. I've seen these wrong before, by the way.
Of course.
All the time.
There's lots of predictors are wrong. Yeah. Just go back to elections, federal elections, it's all a bit of guesswork. But the numbers are, you're talking Lachie Neale, proven vote getter, season that he's had. I didn't think it was his best season when he's won Brownlows, but clearly in a team that's winning games of footy, he has to be considered.
Yeah, that's right. So the top 5 on the AFL website right now, Lachie Neale, Nick Dacos, who we don't have polling a vote in those last 6 rounds that he missed. Very difficult to get votes when you're not on the field. Zach Butters finished well. Didn't start as well as he would have hoped, but comes home quite strongly. Mm-hmm. Marcus Bontempelli's the one for mine, and he's second favourite, so it's nothing outrageous. But I just think some of the one voters that people have predicted him getting, I think he sees 2 or 3 out of some of those. It's the way he plays. He might, I reckon, a couple of games he has 20 touches and he slides in for 2 votes, where people don't have him getting any. Just he's inside. He's the biggest midfielder out there. The way he moves, the way he kicks. I think if he's within striking distance of Nick Dacos, who'll be a long way in front come 6 rounds to go, if he's within striking distance, I think Bontempelli wins this skate.
Yeah, well, you speak of Dacos. I mean, the first 6 rounds, I think, averages 37 disposals, and there's so he's going to pick up votes early. He's also going to pick up, I think, a bunch of votes, maybe even 12 between rounds 12 and 15, where he's has a really, really productive time. So I think you're going to have to poll in excess of 30 or thereabouts to win this tonight.
Yeah, which is good.
Which is good, and unfortunately, it's funny, like midfielder's medal, there's just no one that can even consider polling significantly outside of the Petrarcas, the Butters.
Tim Taranto, Kane Corns' man, is predicted to be in the top 5 here, which would be a pretty significant effort given Kane didn't have him in his top 400 players in the league.
150 players in the league.
Jordan Dawson had a good year, not a great year, but was very serviceable. Christian Petrarca's been rumoured, he's 3rd favourite, I believe, 4th favourite. Doesn't finish as well as he probably could have.
Kicks goals.
Yeah, and for a significant period, no Clayton Oliver in the side as well. So
that's true.
Who else gets votes when he doesn't play? Errol Goulden, I really like him and his season.
He'll poll the best for Sydney. He's an absolute gunner. He's quick and he catches the eye.
And my roughie, if I had one, is Toby Green. And it's very rough, but I just think the games that GWS win and Toby Green kicks goals, I think he gets votes.
Yeah, I don't think he wins, but I actually was listening to a promo for Sportsbet during the week, and without pumping up their ties, they've got a bet for him to produce over 18 votes in the count, which is
do they?
Which is probably because I don't think
18's a lot.
18's a lot, but it's not going to win it. I don't think.
I might have to have a bit of a look at that.
But have a look. That was one that I did here. So no, Toby Green, you're right. He's probably got. I reckon he's got at least 4 or 5 best ons.
Who? I'll give you a couple. Who wins Fremantle's count? If we look at the West Australian side,
Caleb Sarong will vote the most at that club, I would suggest.
I would have to agree with you. I'm just having a quick scan across. Andrew Brayshaw, they have as a sort of outside chance, but Caleb Sarong.
Clearly, well, he's all Australian. He had his best season in many ways. I think Brayshaw had an issue with his knee up until might have been a third of the way through the season, but yeah, he finished really well. So no surprise if Caleb Sarong finishes on top there.
West Coast Eagles.
Well, I think Tim Kelly's probably... Now, here's a question. I mean, because at the Sandover medal, I think the Eagles waffle side, I think polled only 2 votes for the whole year.
Was I one of those?
No, you weren't, just out of interest. But in all honesty, Tim Kelly, we think, will poll the most votes, correct?
After that.
But what's most? Does that mean he might get 8, 6 or 8?
How many games do they win? 3 games?
Yeah.
So give him 9. probably. I don't know how he played in those games, but he'll probably go close to 9.
Yeah.
And then they had a couple of close games. Essendon, he was quite good and they lost.
Yeah.
Maybe he gets a vote here and there, so maybe he gets over 10.
But there's no other midfielders, just trying to think off the top of my head. Oscar Allen.
Tim Kelly's $1.01 to lead the West Coast Eagles.
What are we talking about? Yeah.
He's $1.01 if you want to put a bit of money on that. Have you been to many Brownlow medals?
I've been to one, yeah. And I think it was Goodsy one in 05, 06. And, yeah.
Have a good night.
Pretty good night. Or had a good night, not a great next day.
That's very good. I've only been to one as well. I went to Tom Mitchell's, I believe.
And how many did you? This is not being a smart ass question, but why were you invited on the table? No, because all these blokes are polling well, isn't it?
So that year, mate, this isn't a smart ass question. Can't even speak. He's laughing so much as he says it. What were you doing there in 05, Bono?
I was a guest in Juno.
Yeah.
I was a hanger on. Don't worry about that.
No, I think it was one of those ones like no, everyone pulled out, and I was a senior player and like senior enough, and I said, "I'll bloody go." Absolutely.
So did you go as a partner of someone?
Calm down. I've played almost 200 games of footy scale. I think one invite to the Brownlow where I get invited is just due course. No, I took my beautiful wife Alex.
Yeah.
Sat next to Josh Kennedy. It was actually I got him in a bit of trouble because I thought, well, fuck, I'm not getting a vote. So I made him scull his drink every 3 he got. He got quite a few 3s, and by the end of it, he was quite intoxicated, and he was on live TV sculling beers, and there was a big bullshit about responsible drinking and stuff. It's like, calm down.
Well, why footballers? Why is it that they like yesterday?
No one's sculled a drink in their life. Seriously.
No, but I mean, what is it with footballers? That you get 3 votes, you scull. Are you 12 or
Oh,
you're teenagers?
sorry, you never sculled a drink. You just sipped them, do you?
You
Skeeter the sipper.
You got the national broadcaster on you. Oh, I'll scull a drink on live TV.
Oh, is it okay? A bit of fun? Are we allowed to do that? No fun. The fun police over here.
How many votes did you poll?
That day? Just this is 0.
I thought you polled votes, but it wasn't on that night.
Not that night. No.
Oh,
No. I've only got one vote in my whole career.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, do you remember against whom?
Yeah, absolutely. Carlton, Telstra Dome, and I was Telstra Dome then.
What year?
2011, I reckon. 2012.
Was it a performance worthy of a vote?
Oh, look, could be debatable. I think I had 17 and a goal from a back flank.
Yeah, but plenty of runs
Bounces,
up. Yeah.
some big spoils. Like, it's very rare spoils get awarded.
Did you win the game?
Yep, it was a big game. It was a top 4 game.
Okay.
So it was top 4 clash. I think it was 2012, the year that Carlton going quite well. We played them at home, come from behind victory. I kicked a goal late in the last quarter.
He's running around.
Oh, mate, they had the roof open.
Yeah.
What do you mean, yeah? It was raining.
Oh, it was raining. Okay.
It was raining at Telstra when I got votes. That's very good, isn't it? Who's your pick then? Who's your pick over this? I'm picking Bontempelli.
You're picking Bont. I'm going to. I do like Bont, to be honest with you. I'll stick with Nick because I think he's going to establish a big enough lead. But there's going to be less than a couple of votes in it at the end. He plays the whole season, and if he plays decently in the last month and polled, 3-4 votes, he wins it. But I just that month of footy or 3 weeks of footy where he's out, that's where the door opens for others. I'm still thinking St. Nick.
So Nick Dacos wins it.
Yeah, I know he's a favourite, but
do you think he'll take Josh Dacos up on stage with him?
He might. They might actually walk up hand in hand. Who knows? But
and his dad might be out there to present the medal.
Could be. I know you're.
Oh, well, just get on with it, seriously. Okay, so you're Nick Dacos, I'm Marcus Bontempelli. If you want to come down and have a good time, come down to the paddo. Lots of good shit happening down there. Will Schofield, Mark Redding, Shot of FootyCast. Couple of listener questions, Skeeter, and you might have to have a little think about your Thursday Camel Clanger of the Week because you haven't spat one out today.
No, I haven't, have I?
But that's okay. George Eastwood, g'day, gents. Following on from your discussions about the grand final parade, Skeeter's absolutely spot on. Now, if you remember Skeeter,
what was the question?
Don't worry about the Clanger of the Week.
No, I've got a clanger. I've got a clanger.
So last week, you told me that the grand final parade doesn't finish at the MCG.
Hasn't historically.
Yeah, and I was blowing up about it, remember? And I asked people to write in about it.
Yeah, here we go.
Well, George has written in about it. Just to follow up from the grand final parade discussion, Skeety's absolutely spot on. It's a new thing for the parade to finish at the MCG. I'm 30, so much younger than you, Scoey, and as an Eagles fan...
Much younger.
I clearly remember 05 and 06 watching the parade up to Government House,
yes,
which was a tradition. 2015 was the first to go to the MCG. So I'm sorry, that's all I know. So yeah, we get it, Scully. You're a big, important player. Maybe listen to Skeet for once, as he's been around since God was a boy.
I liked it until he just, in the early 50s. Don't give me a complete, so don't put me in the fossil category just yet.
George, you had him all chirpy until that sucked in, Skate. Hey, this is from JB5465. What is with these numbers? I don't actually understand. Hey, Scully, do players talk about or even know what each other are paid? In my opinion, contracts should be public. But I understand both sides of the argument. No, players don't talk about money. I don't reckon I ever knew what any player was on during my career, not one player. It's just not something you speak about. It's not something
even in a my workplace, in all seriousness, I don't go...
You might ask if you I don't know, maybe there's another offer from another club, or maybe there's a chance to renew. You might ask someone in a similar role, give me a ballpark of what you're getting paid.
But surely, as players, you see a press conference with, for argument's sake, Jay McGovern or Nick Nat going, there's a press conference sign between, not to the player themselves, surely other players say, geez, what do you reckon this next deal's worth?
Nah,
you don't
honestly. But you just turn on them and make sure they're shouting coffees and calling them money bags, and I don't know. It's just sort of part and parcel.
Yeah,
most players in there are paid a fair bit of coin, so not most. You know who are, and so I don't know. The details don't really matter. Should they be made public? Would you like to say?
I mean, they're not politicians. Look, again, we're trying to follow the American style. Is there a...
I don't think it would hurt that much if it was made public, put it that way. There's a fair bit of carry on from the AFLPA. I don't think it would create that much issue. In fact, it may actually create some understanding on who's on what. I don't know.
Possibly. By the same token, I totally understand if you're a player, you don't want tell me another profession, I mentioned politics, but tell me professions where you're obliged to tell people what you earn. I'm not strong either way, and if someone doesn't want to reveal their salary, I respect that.
Yeah, that's a good point, Skate. That is us done and dusted, Skeeter. Have you got a...
Yeah, I'll finish with a Thirsty Camel Clang of the Week. A young bloke, you might hear a bit more of him. He was the best player on the ground in the Colts grand final yesterday, Claremont beating Perth, Zane Zakostelski. Yes, try and say that after a couple of shelters.
Tell me this is leading into Lee Spur.
No, well, Lee Spur, the clangers that he had, I listened to the first 7 names of the Claremont list.
He said he couldn't even read the names.
He had 5 out of 7, didn't even sound anywhere near. It was like even simple names like Greenaway.
This is Lee Spur awarding the Colts grand final medals.
And
you had to say their names.
Even Greenaway. It was Greenway. It was.
Sorry, Dross.
He actually, and Spurry came into me.
Wasn't working.
The microphone wasn't working. Spurry didn't know he was playing before he came to the ground, and then he had that. So that was quite funny. But Zane, who was outstanding, by the way, he'll get drafted somewhere, I think. Zakostelski, again, as a footballer, you think in the moment, instead of getting up on the microphone, thanking Claremont, well done to Perth, and then, of course, drops the F-bomb.
Oh, boy.
I mean, just tell me briefly, Scott, what is it that footballers are obliged to feel that they have to swear on a microphone after a game?
I don't fucking know.
You bloody dinosaurs.
Sorry, Skate. So we went on the school hard.
No, just Thirsty Camel Clanger. Just keep it clean from your grandma.
And remember, Perth footy fans, if you're still wondering where to go for the grand final on Saturday, jump on our Instagram page, Shelter FootyCast. Tag your 3 mates. We got 4 tickets to give away to the Leaderville Precincts grand final party. All details in the link. Get over there, Skeeter. Skeet might have a few beers over there as well.
Giddy up.